Here we go. Okay. Good evening, Knicks Nation. Welcome to the New York Knicks 2021-2022 season kickoff edition of Sky Hoops Knicks Dreams. To join the conversation, drop your comments in the chat. And like we always say to kick off the show, go New York, go
Go
New York,
New York,
go.
go!
All right, fellas, welcome back. It's a new season upon us. The Knicks are on the brink to kicking it off on Wednesday, and we're going to chop it up from the draft to the preseason to the regular season. So, with that being said, let me drop the mic down or drop the rock down to Bill Stradama Esquire because
Esquire.
he's changed his name. Explain that to us, Bill Stradamus.
I've embarked on my law degree. I am going to be representing Mr. Kyrie Irving in all matters regarding this New York facility mandate, and we're gonna see how this goes. I'm trying to get him an exemption or get him out of the East. So, uh, yeah, I'm glad that the season is right here. It's been a few months, but I'm ready for it. Uh, I'm licking my chops. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I like the moves that they made, and I'm just looking forward uh, to growing from what we put down last season, and I think we're going to do a little better this year, which is what the object is. The object and the agenda is to progressively get better and better until we're one of those contending teams, and I'm seeing it. So I don't want to hog up the mic. So what I'll do is I'll make a no look pass to my man next to me, to the Dream.
Now I take that no look pass and finger roll it from the free throw line. So
Finger
yes,
roll.
super excited to be back. All those things Santana mentioned, the draft, all those prospects we picked up, things we did, some moves we made. Well, that was exciting. On both ends. Some people were happy about that stuff. Some people weren't so happy. They felt we should have did a little better. But it's all gonna work out for us. Like H2O said earlier in the pre-show, just gotta relax, take it easy, one step at a time. We'll be okay. Let these guys groove, and we'll do our thing. So I'm excited. The Mets and the Yankees got out of the way for us. I'm a Dolphins fan, so they just ended their season yesterday. I can now focus straight on the Knicks for the next 82. So I'm excited. 10 more games this season. Everybody out there, they're projecting that the Knicks win a fair amount of those games. So I'm ready to talk about it. Let's get fired up. But before that, I see my man up top. I'm gonna bounce that hard bounce pass straight up to him. Go ahead, H2O.
Thank you, man. I'm gonna take that hard bounce pass a la Mitchell Robinson, okay, and just do a one-hand stuff.
All right.
Now, before we get any further, I want to welcome everyone back. I want to thank Papi Santos for once again putting this show together. I want to thank Bill Stradam, the Dream, for coming on board again, and I want to thank Bill Stradamus Esquire for going on his law degree because his boy is going to need a lot of help. I don't know where that's going to end up. He might get you sick before you get him well. But that's a show. That's a conversation for another show. Today we are embarking on the new season, and as they say in baseball, hope springs eternal. In other words, everybody is 0-0, and anything is possible. And the Knicks are you mentioned, I hope we do better than we did last year. And for me, that means getting out of the first round of the playoffs. And did I say playoffs? Oh, I didn't mean to say, oh, no, not already.
Welcome to the dark side, the playoff side. Yes.
I retract that. I'll hold those statements for another show. Okay?
It's out there now. It's out there.
It's in the universe. It's on tape. This is on tape. I am on tape as using the P word, but I will not make that mistake again. Okay, let's let the season roll into, let's get into January and February to start talking, the P word. So right now I'm just going to hand it over to Santana.
So I know we got a lot that we're gonna talk about, but we're gonna start in the in the beginning, in terms of the draft. We had a show that we did a season wrap up, and that was back in June, I think it was, or May or something like that. So now we're gonna pick it up from the draft. So let's talk about the draft first. Let's talk about the players that they drafted and the players that they signed, the players that they cut, and get your take on what you think. I'll give you my quick take on what I see in a couple of players. Obviously, Sims, that kid can jump out the gym. He's got an NBA body and he's raw. He's raw talent, but I think he's in a great situation because he's not expected to get big minutes. He's not expected to be on the roster the entire season. As a matter of fact, he has a two-way contract. So they can only play him up to 50 games. And, there's other technicalities there that they would have to deal with. So I think they're going to be very careful and selective of how many games he does play or is on the roster with the Knicks. But definitely, he's got an NBA body. He just got to learn. And as a rookie, you expect him to learn how to use his body. He's been able to I guess, jump over people in college and dominate the game that way. But in the NBA, he's not going to get that many opportunities. And he's going to have to learn how to make space to be able to go back up and put a put back. You know what I'm saying? Now, in terms of the shooters, they got Grimes and then they got McBride. Now, Grimes, as I had told H2O, and I know, H2O always gives me the beef. He gives me the fever. You know what I'm saying? Because I see things and he don't see them. He don't see them when I see them. And then he be questioning me. And I'll be like, listen, bro, I know what I see. My eyes don't lie to me. And what I told him, and I know I'm very careful when I say these things because I don't like to put undue expectation and pressure on rookies and all of that good stuff. But what I did say was this kid has a beautiful stroke, has great form to the point that he reminds me of an Allen Houston type. I'm not saying that he is, but he has the stroke. And I know H2O was killing me. I said, bruh, I know what I'm telling you. I know what I see. Just give him time. So, I'll leave that at that. Now, in terms of McBride, what I like the most about him is he can defend, and he's more than willing to pick somebody up baseline to baseline. That's very important. Now, whether he's going to get the minutes, that remains to be seen. However, the cat has solid D, and he's a great little backup right now to obviously Rose and to Kemba, you know, to learn from them and be able to run an offense and get his shot off. So I'm not gonna say more than that because I want to share the rock. So I'm gonna pass it off to Bill Stradamus and you run with it, bruh. Rumble, young man, rumble. Oh, your mic is muted. Your mic is muted.
My bad, my bad. Yes,
Now
thank you,
you go.
sir. I really like the kid Sims. I like all three. I like all three of those kids. And I was a little disappointed at it was I don't recall which game it was. It was a game that we ran away with, and Mr. Tibbs is playing these guys in the fourth quarter, playing them over 30 minutes, and it was unnecessary. I think he should have emptied the bench and let them close out the game whether we win or lose. That's what he
Right.
should have done. Because I think we were in the fourth quarter, we're up by like over 20, and and he still has Randall and RJ and those guys in there. I really like Grimes' stroke, like you said. Like he's like the original H2O on the Knicks, Allen Houston. He has a nice touch, and he plays defense. And McBride, that dude is he's a guy. He's one of those guys that you every team needs to have. He reminds me somewhat, but better offensively than like the kid on Boston. What's his name? Marcus Smart. He has that gritty, get in your jock game, and then he can give you some offense as well. Grimes, well, I already mentioned him. Sims, man, Sims has a promising future. As I was talking with Coach the other day, and I had mentioned that, in my opinion, Sims is offensively ahead of Mitchell Robinson already.
Ouch! Ouch!
I see H2O shooting me darts. I can feel
With
it.
his eyes! With his eyes!
I can feel it. But hey, that is what it is, man. That dude is he's more seasoned on the offensive end than Mitch is. Defensively, Mitch still has him. However, this kid is athletic too. The kid jumps out of the building, and with playing time, he's just going to get better and better. So he's a keeper. He's definitely a keeper. With that said, let me pass it over to the Dream. Dream, just simple bounce pass.
Appreciate it. And since you had Grimes on your mind, I take Super 6 from the 3. Boom! Right there. Nice and sweet. All right. So, yeah, I agree. So let's take it back. The very, very first thing we did was have a plan going into the draft. They scouted these guys very well. And far before the draft even took place, they had Grimes on the radar. They had McBride on the radar. And so they just started to maneuver. They had a couple other people they were eyeing. The kid that ended up going to Indiana, Chris Duarte. I just want to say they did have him on the radar. They tried desperately to trade those 2 picks to try to get up there. Nobody above 16 wanted to trade out of that because they all wanted him and the other kid ended up going to New Orleans. Maybe I think it was Trey Murphy was another sharpshooter, a tall sharpshooter from Virginia. But ultimately, they knew what they really wanted, and so when things started shaking down and falling and we got to the 19th pick, the first thing they did was secure a draft pick for next year. Even though a lot of people complain that they jumped out of that 19th pick, they traded with Charlotte, and they ended up picking up their next year's first round pick also, which is protected, so it'll be around 19, whatever, or somewhere around there. But it's an extra draft pick for people that in spots that we weren't going to use, and we end up picking an extra draft pick up, and now we get to also select our guys later on in the round. So we did that twice, which ended up giving us the later pick also of Sims, which was nice, because they had some other guys on the radar. But another stash, a draft and stash that I do like that's also under the radar move was Rokas Jokubitis, the left-handed kid, little point guard kid that picked up. He was not a plan right now, but he is a plan for down in the future, 2 years from now. Right now, he's over there in the Spanish league, I believe it is, tearing it up. Love it. Do your thing, and you have a home if you ever get there. They got rid of players they didn't need and wasn't going to keep. Luca Vildoza, waived them, and all those lower edge guys that they had in. They did pick up another kid that San Antonio let go, Luka Samanik. So we might see him coming around. He's a 6'10" forward, kind of like poor man's Lauri Markkanen that we talked about trying to add. So he's like a poor man's Lauri Markkanen. We'll see what he can do, down the road. But as far as getting back to the draft, obviously all those guys, the sharp shooting, the defense, and the big man. You brought all of that in, and what that does more than anything, it pushes that bench even harder because the starters are new and the bench is going to be the same, but it tells them you can't just sit back and come back the same way you did last year. You got to be better. So all the players on the bench, quickly and Toppin, when the summer league, they did their thing. They got a little bit better. And if those guys that got drafted come in and start pushing them to be better, then the whole team benefits from that. That being said, I'm going to go behind my back and toss it right behind my head. H2O, take it away.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, all of that is fine. Like they say, what is it? Something about 2020 vision and all of that. Like looking back, we are saying, "Oh, this was wonderful." But as I was sitting on that day, and they were trading the 19th pick to Charlotte and the 21st pick to the LA Clippers, and I'm saying to myself, not what great things they were doing. What the hell were they doing? You know? So, yes, it did turn out that later on they were able to get Deuce McBride and Grimes and Jericho Sims. But I didn't know that coming in that they were doing such a great job of scouting these guys or anything like that. I don't know where maybe you got some more information than I do, Dream. But I wasn't up to that. I was, like maybe I don't know. I wasn't doing enough of research to have knowledge of what their plan was to do with those picks that they traded away, because they could have picked up McBride, Grimes, and that other kid Jericho Sims with the picks that they had. What was I think, of course, I think you mentioned it. The reason was to pick up a couple of second round draft picks for later years. You know. But sometimes that can work against you. I mean, you start working for the future, and then you kind of sacrifice something in the present.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, Duarte had not yet been taken.
No, he was 13.
He was, yeah.
He was 13.
Yeah, he was early. The guys
Chris
we wanted.
Duarte, okay, by Indiana.
The first one to go, right.
All right, yeah. Because I was during that morning. I think we were going back and forth about it. I think I was car shopping at the time, and I was talking to Dream and stuff like that. Anyway, but yes, they still had me worried on that day. By the end of the day, I felt okay, and by the time we got to Las Vegas, I felt a lot better about those guys.
Oh, yeah.
They were showing something. And so at least those three guys. The other guy was the Sims from Clemson, who I think had a good basketball career at Clemson, but it didn't translate very much into the short stint that he had with the Knicks. I wish him luck, but I think he got cut.
Yes, he did.
They didn't even send him to the G League.
No, they
didn't even send him to the G League.
He may pop up later on, but at this point,
yeah. At this point, they just had to make roster moves, and he had to be, I guess, one of the, a numbers game. But again, I am very happy with the job that they did. Speaking now in the present, because not only did those guys show up in the rookie camp, but they also did very well for themselves during the preseason. Although Deuce McBride did not get enough minutes.
Right.
But if he came in there with 20 seconds left in the game, he was in that man's shorts.
Yes, he was.
Taking the ball out. And we were up by 10 or 15, and he's still playing defense. So I love his intensity and his desire.
Yeah.
So take it away, Santana.
Yeah, going back to the day of the draft, yeah, of course, I felt the same way where I wasn't sure the rationale behind them trading down and trading down and trading down. But of course, we're not privy to what's going on behind the scenes. Obviously, it was a testament to their, pre-draft scouting, because obviously they did their homework. So it makes sense now, because now we know what their tactics were, their strategies were. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, we're seeing it on the floor with those players that are showing the type of potential that they actually have, which only adds to their depth. That's what makes this team, I think, even more attractive this year, because I think they've upgraded the talent level overall, and they've added the depth. Now, the question, of course, is going to be whether Tibbs really utilizes that depth, because Tibbs has a history of playing 8, no more than 9. And that, that approach, yes, I know that he's coaching to win. I get it. But you need to develop these guys too. You need to develop them, because you want to make sure that your horses at the end of the year are going to have enough to close out series. You know what I'm saying? To be, at their peak form for the playoffs, as opposed to you're grinding every single game and you're not using your bench. And by the time the end of the season comes, these guys' legs are gone. You know what I mean? So those are the things that the jury's out for me on tips. And I'm a big tip supporter on the defensive side of things.
Right.
I'm not too big on his offensive strategy, and I'm very concerned about the minutes distribution. You know what I'm saying? I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that he really adjusts his games to that. And then, of course, what I like to see towards the playoffs, and I said it, playoffs, I want to see that this guy is going to make adjustments. Because I remember in that Atlanta series, before that series started, I said, this is going to be about adjustments. Who makes the adjustment? And Nate McMillan made the adjustment.
Yes, he
This
did.
cat never made the adjustment. This guy, Trey Young, Mr. Sandwich Man, he's only a buck and change. I mean, he need a steak. You can't body this cat. You can't pick him up full court. You can't force him to play whoever he has to defend. Force him into the post to wear him down. I mean, that's basic stuff. And he never made that adjustment. So these are the things that I look at in terms of, from a coach's perspective. Because as a coach, you have a certain level of responsibility as well. Yes, the players are the ones that can win the game, but your strategy has a lot to do with it, or the lack of strategy has a lot to do with it. So go ahead, let's go another round. Go ahead, Bill Stradamus. What do you want to say before we switch over to other topics? We'll go around the
Okay,
horn
we go
again,
around one
and then
more.
we'll switch.
Okay.
Yeah. So go
Now,
ahead, brother.
the thing that that all of you have pointed out, and then I'm gonna try to elaborate on, is the fact that the office of management, they did their homework. We all didn't understand. We didn't see it. However, Leon, Wide World, and company, they were doing their due diligence because, like it was stated, I think H2O stated, we could have taken those guys with our regular picks. However, they did their homework and saw that, okay, we can get those at that pick, but if we trade some picks, we can get them later in addition to getting picks, because they knew that the players that the other teams were looking at. So they were very, very diligent in this draft, because, like I said, all three of those guys are promising. And the guy that we got tucked away, what is his name? Conjunctivitis, whatever his name is. That dude,
Yeah,
he is nice. He's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, he is nice. So, who knows? In another season or two, he'll be coming over. And I wanted to say to H2O,
Yo.
do we have a second option now?
Do we have a second option?
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'll hold that. Let's hold that.
Okay. No. Okay. Yeah. We go around later on, man. I'll get you.
All right. So that's my little 2 cents on the rookies and the process, our process, the New York process of Leon Rose and company. And I'm, like I said, I'm elated, and I just can't wait. With that being said, you slide over the head to the dream.
Appreciate the pass, and I'm gonna just cross it over. I'm gonna body somebody a little bit, feeling like a little bit of deuce, and then go for the little quick layup. So I think we touched up on it. Santana, I think you said it the best. The depth, man. It's the depth. That's the biggest thing about all this. Management is making smart moves. We need to get out of the mode, even during the draft, before the draft, that our management is gonna steer us down the wrong path. They did that to us for so many years. We're all beaten up that way. And so we default to thinking the worst case scenario, when they've actually showed these last couple of drafts, they're actually way better than we think at this, at evaluating, and turning over those evaluations into the actual draft picks that are going to matter for us. They did it last year where they jumped out of the 23rd pick, then they switched back into it, and we ended up with an extra second round. We got quickly out of that, those type of things. And we see now Toppin is coming around to the player that they saw and imagined him being. Okay, and we can all see that now, right? He's using his body the right way. He's being more efficient. His stroke is even coming through a little bit more. You know, last year we criticized all that. So yes, Obi-Wan is bringing the Kenobi Force. So you know, I'm excited. So and and the rest of the guys, it matters. That depth matters. We're going back to the depth now because like the 3 quarters through the season to right into the playoffs, we started hitting a lot of guys hitting falling off the depth chart. You know,
Yeah.
we're out with injuries here and there, and it affected us. And I know you said about the adjustments and stuff like that. And yes, we criticize Thibs for not making the adjustments, but he really didn't have that many adjustments to make or at his disposal to make. So we got stuck with Rose starting, and that was never good. And and that kind of thing can be alleviated because of the fast guards start to eat up Kemba and even Rose at times. You can bring in a McBride to body them for a little while. Go take fouls. Go play tight defense and take fouls and body them and make them work up and down the floor. He can take Trae Young straight up from full court, 94 feet all the way all the way through if he wants to. He's fast enough for that, and he's got a big enough body. And eventually, he does have some offensive game, but it's not really. I don't think that's what they really got him for. They can appreciate that, and he can develop that, especially with guys like Rose and Kemba, because he has a mid-range game. Nice little floating jump shot. He'll shoot the three from time to time, but if he can pick up their offensive game along with his defensive skills and his body, he's going to be dangerous down the future. And like I said, in a couple of years, maybe we get this other left-handed kid come down from Spain, boom, and he could be our backup point guard, a little spark plug off the bench, So it'd be exciting, and that's pretty much it. That was my 2 cents, was just that the depth is really what we need to focus on and what we need to appreciate about what this draft added for us. H2O, take it away.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, and may the force be with you. You are my son. Listen, now that we talked about the draft, I think we can segue into who they brought in and who they signed.
Free agents, yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah,
because that's another important factor to the whole picture, which is not only did they do a good job, and I'm going to give them that 100%. They did a great job of researching and getting, some good bodies, some good players, fundamentally sound. You know what I'm saying? We ain't got no Frank Ntilikina now, man. Ain't no Frank Ntilikina in this draft, okay? So, and I'll give you that Obi Toppin and all of that, and quickly they missed a little bit of summer season last year, and therefore they weren't ready for the season as they were this year. So we're going to give it to you, okay? But those signings, okay? And I didn't see much during the game that I did see at the Garden the other day, but in time, with Kemba and Fournier on the floor together, they find each other. When Kemba's not on the floor, Fournier does not touch the ball as often as he could. They don't know him as well. Kemba knows a little bit more about him and knows how to get him the ball when they call his number. So I'm looking forward to that because I've seen them during practice. I got there early enough to see them, shooting around. And this kid was sticking it, man. I mean, like they were dropping like water, man. Just, rippling the nets. He was rippling the net from every. So, that was a great look. So that if you want to ask the question again, do we have a second option? Okay. I still know that, you may not want to believe this, but Barrett is still there. Barrett is still there. He's there at the end of the games. And until Fournier steps it up, that's who we got. He is maybe your third option because Rose is your second option. And Rose sometimes.
What about Kemba?
Well, he hasn't shown it yet. He hasn't played. He hasn't played significant minutes.
You missed the first season game.
Right.
First
What,
preseason
Rose
game was the one that was, everybody gelled together. That was the one.
and the last preseason game, he sat the about 3 quarters.
Yeah, that
I
was a
think he got
waste.
into a little bit of foul trouble because of that kid was running him around,
Yeah,
and he got 3 fouls in about the middle of the second quarter, and he sat the rest of the game. And Rose took over. See, because Rose knows this team, but Rose is going to come in there and he's going to give you 15 to 20 points a night. That's your second option. Unfortunately, he doesn't want to start, nor should he. He should not start because Quigley needs his help.
Yep.
Toppin need his help. Grimes need his help. And that's how it's going to work out. They have enough of a starting unit to let all those kids play with Rose. Rose is going to be Papa Bear for those kids, and he's gonna bring them on. I mean, look, man, I'm giddy. This team is nice. It's nice. You got Burks coming off the bench. You got Rose coming off the bench. You got Noel. You got
Say it again. Say it again.
Noel. You got Sims coming off the bench.
Say the P word. Say the P word.
What P word? That's a P word?
Say the P
I
word.
didn't know there was a P word. I say giddy. I'm giddy.
it's not puppy. It's not puppy either. No puppies.
It's a puppy. Oh, yeah. Those puppies are going to do very well this year. Take it away, Santana.
You said it already, so I'm just trying to get you to repeat it.
But I got every position over here, and we're 3 deep everywhere.
Yeah,
Yes, we are.
yeah.
3 deep.
But you're right. You're right. I mean, in terms of the free agent pickups, of course, Kemba Walker, he's going to be a good addition to the team. In the little bit that I saw in the preseason, he's going to be a great fit for this team. He can hit that mid-range shot. He can hit the perimeter, the three-point shot. He can set people up. The only concern that I have for him is obviously him staying healthy because he's had, the last couple of years, he's been injury prone. And then the second thing that I'd probably be a little concerned about is because he's small in stature against many other point guards that he's going to go up against, they could get physical with him. You know what I mean? He could get into foul trouble. But other than that, you got an all-star, assuming that he stays healthy. So that's going to be good. Fournier, yes. I think obviously the chemistry is there between Kemba and him because they played in Boston together. So they already know each other. The rest of the team still has to get to know Fournier. So until that happens, you're gonna see some growing pains. So that's on the coach to make sure that he pairs up or he has guys that are familiar with each other. The same way that you brought up Derrick Rose being instrumental to that second unit and those players in that second unit. They already know each other. So they know where they like the ball, where their strong suit is at, and so forth and so on. And that's gonna take time with the Knicks. But it did show itself in the first preseason game because he had what I think is going to be the starting lineup. Right now, the only question mark is obviously whether Gibson is going to start or Noel is going to start on Wednesday night as your starting center. But other than that, you had Barrett, you had Julius, you had Kemba, Fournier, and Gibson. And that five, they played very well in that first preseason game, in spite of the fact that was their first time playing. I'm saying, a regular game, because prior to that, they had training camp. So, I saw the promise there. Now, moving forward, yeah, it's all about, those different matchups, first unit, second unit, managing minutes, and then of course hoping that on the back-to-backs, that's going to be very interesting because you got two guys, 2 point guards, two of which one is older, Derrick Rose, and then the second one being Kemba, who's injury, prone the last couple of years. So how you manage that is going to be very interesting, and that's where this kid McBride could be very important, assuming that Tibbs, is wise about using him, and he should use him because that will give these guys a reprieve in terms of not playing them back to back. you know, load management, I guess, is, a bad word, but it's something that needs to be done. So with that said, I'm gonna pass the buck because I'm getting a call. I'm gonna let you guys pick it up from there, and I'll join you guys in a few.
All right. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
One
With
second, Judge.
I agree with Santana that we need to play McBride, and I think we're gonna have to play him. Of course, it depends on who the opposing point guards are. However, with the scenario that coach just indicated with regard to Rose being older, and we already have it established. Rose needs to lead that second unit. He needs to do that. And Kemba, unfortunately, has been injured the past, I think I want to say maybe 2 seasons. So we have to keep that in mind, and we're gonna have to do some. Yeah, we're gonna have to do some load management. It is what it is, and we have players in which we can stick in there to assist in this load management agenda. And McBride is the perfect. Like I said, he's perfect to put in there on certain guards. Yeah, as soon as we see we're gonna see Atlanta, I think on Christmas Day. Let McBride touch him up a little bit. Put a little body on him. Make it a little more difficult than we made it for him in our playoff series, because we didn't make it difficult for him at all, and he killed us. So therefore, with that in mind, and the guys that we got now, our our attack changes. Uh, but Tibbs has to change. He's going to have to change a little bit. He's going to have to be a little more flexible with moving the pieces around. Of course, it's going to be a game by game basis. However, like I stated earlier, he has to refrain from just overplaying these guys, especially when the game is already determined in the balance, whether it's on outside or not. He has to you have to at some point make a decision. Okay, maybe okay, if it's not Julius's night, let him sit for the fourth quarter. Or if it is and we're up by 15, let him sit for at least some minutes of the fourth quarter. Let Obi be out there with a couple of the others. And if we should lose the lead, then you can put Randall back in. You can put Kemba back in. You can put the starters back in. But you can't play these guys for 35 minutes, win or lose. You can't. You have to change that way of thinking. And even with the big men, okay, we had to play Taj because Mitch hasn't played in 6 months, and Noel is that he needs he needs the soul food IV, because that dude is still like, what is he like, 220, 7 feet. So we're gonna have to put Sims in there. We're gonna have to use him. And I don't know if you guys know. Well, I know you guys know that even last season, that Noel, he played well. He played very good. But then usually after about 5 games, he'll play 5 good, solid games, and then you might have to sit him down for a game or two because of whatever his situation is with his knees, or I don't know what it was, but he's just, for whatever reason, he's not built for 82 games. He can give you 70 games, and so we have other options now, because that kid Sims, I think if we give him a shot, I think because he did do some college, he'll be able to develop with the help of certain coaches that they have. I forget the coach that works with the big men. That
Yeah,
guy,
from Kentucky. From Kentucky.
yeah, he should be. If he works with Sims, Sims looks like the type that he'll be able to absorb whatever good coaching that he's getting, and it will be reflected on once you're given a chance on the floor. Because the kid he has all the tools athletically, and he has some tools because of the fact that he went to college. So therefore, listen, we didn't bring him here to sit him down and only play him, you know, you know, once every 20 games. You can't do that with these kids. Let these kids play. And like Santana said, let them develop into that team that we're seeing maybe a couple of seasons from now. Because I see it, and I know you guys see it too. And it's just a matter of everybody being on the same page with regard to how we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that level. And I have trust in the front office, of course. I don't have the full trust in Tibbs, unfortunately, that I should have or that I want to have, and in the head coach. I support him wholeheartedly. He did wonders for us last season, definitely. We have a different culture. We have a defensive minded agenda. Everybody knows that. We're not sneaking up on anybody anymore. Everybody knows that when the Knicks come to town or when you go to the Garden, you're gonna get a game. You're not gonna be able to just walk into the Garden and walk out with a game, nor are you going to be able to protect your home court, as if a high school team came in there, like the previous Knicks seasons under coaches that I will not mention this season on this podcast. Uh, so with that being said, let me slide over a quick no look to my man Dream. Take it away, Dream.
Appreciate you with the pass. So quickly on Sims, I just want to say that if he does not develop into a young Dwight Howard by the end of this season, going into next season,
Yeah.
something went terribly wrong in development. So that's just what I see out of the raw talent that he has. Right,
Yes.
all he has to develop. We really haven't seen any offensive game out of him, but just the body and the quickness off the ground and being able to just be around people and move them. That's just because I lived in Florida and Orlando for a little while when Dwight Howard was in his young stages over there, and man, it was just very similar things to see. Now, Dwight Howard was a little bit more developed. He was probably a year or two away from being all-star level, and that's not Sims right now, but we can get him on that track because he's already got some of those skills. So I'll say that. Moving forward to the additions that we brought in this year, one of the things we lacked last year, man, we just didn't have enough scoring punch, man. Everything we gave to the game, no matter what it was about 110. But really, the number said 105, right? And then our defense was holding people to 104. So we hung our hat on our defense and prayed that we were in the game and then tried to pull them out late. And more often than not, last year we did a lot of that. Pull them out more often than not late, and that got us to the playoffs. But this year, we went out again. Management, thank you, good moves. You bring in the shooting duo, basically. I'll say first adding Fournier, which was probably the more expected move, I would say. For them. But then once all the other we watched, like, you think the draft was bad, free agency was the killer for me. It was watching like Lonzo go somewhere else and this guy go somewhere else, and there's like all the potential possibilities of bringing somebody in, because I was like, there's no way they're absorbing that Kemba contract. There's no way. Then he ends up going over to to OKC, getting
OKC.
traded over there. And thank God that's the one team that can absorb a boatload of his money and get rid of him at the same time. So once that happened and they brought him in for minimal dollars, another sweet move is very similar to the draft, where the obvious was there, but the behind the scenes moves gave away the obvious and got us basically a better deal for what we were getting, right? Making the most on our dollar. So that was awesome to bring them in. Now, as far as what they bring in versus what we had, so we're replacing Alfred Payton's 10 points a game with Kemba's 19 now, so that's 9 there, and we're replacing Bullock's 10 points a game also with 17 from Fournier, basically career scoring. So he did a little less last year, but that's because he moved teams and stuff. But so basically, we're on the face value is saying that we're bringing 16 more points, right? 16 more points to the offense in general. Now, we're giving up on defense, so there's a trade-off there. So I won't say they're just bringing in 16 points added to the offense, because that would just put us like number one in the league all of a sudden. That doesn't happen that way, right? So let's just cut that in half, or even a third of that, right? So
Right.
if we just up our points by 5 points a game because of those guys, you know what I'm saying? That puts us in the middle of the league. If we take a straight 8, just half of what their production is, and just gives us 8 more, that puts us in the top 5 of the league. So either way, we're getting to the point now where we're pushing this team in the direction of being what we noticed last year. The teams that were serious and serious playoff contenders and made moves were the teams that were top 10 offense and defense. If you go back and look at but basically we want to get to be a team that's like that, So that's just what I had to say about that. So I'm excited that they actually address the needs, the depth, and then the shooting was a big thing. You know what I'm saying? So they brought shooting in as through the draft, and they added the shooting on the starting front, which was a lot what we were getting right out the gate. A lot of times we were getting down 10 points early because we couldn't get our offensive flow going. But if it looks more like the first preseason game than it did the last preseason game, I think we'll be okay because Santana, we were both there, and so we got to see them actually get into a flow of moving the ball around almost too much in the beginning. But once they realize, oh, we don't really have to take the extra pass, just fire up the three. We started draining a bunch of threes, and all of a sudden, the rest of the game just took place. And by the end of the game, the fourth quarter, we were up by 20 something points or whatever, and you just kind of like finagled the rest to what a win was going to be for us. But it was a great first showing for those guys, and hopefully they just continue to gel in that manner. That being said, I toss it up H2O.
Yeah, thanks, Dream. I want to address something that Bill Stradamus Esquire brought up, and that was about Noel and his consistently inconsistent, basically, is what you try to say. But again, some of the players that we brought in, I'm not going to say some. Kemba Walker is a fantastic point guard, former All-Star. Maybe they can consider him for Hall of Fame. I'm not sure yet. But he can only give us but so many minutes. And in a way, that works for us because all he has to do is do twice as much as what Peyton gave us last year, and we're in great shape. And he's going to probably do 90%, triple what Peyton did for us. But he's going to be limited in minutes. And the way that works for us is that your coach will have to call it the bench. He's going to need those reinforcements because he cannot now give Rose 38 minutes a game. Just because Kemba can only play 5 or 6, he can't do that. So I know that this is an experiment with Quigley. I don't think that he's ready.
Yeah, he's not.
Quigley, he said last year, I could be a point guard. No, he's a shooting guard. He's a shooting guard that can shoot a three-pointer when he's open. He cannot create for himself. And maybe every once in a while he does that teardrop, but that kind of fell off towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
But I like the fact, like I think Santana mentioned, is that we have depth. We have depth now. So there's no reason why coach should be squeezing every ounce of energy out of our starters. No need to. You could bring them back in with 5 minutes left in the game when the game is in the balance and let them, try to win it for us.
But that's not Tibbs' way. That's why we're,
you're talking to him, aren't you? You're putting it out there in the universe, right?
I'm putting it out, yeah.
You're putting it out there. Well, see, just like the team has changed, just like the front office has changed, the coach needs to be looking at, the evidence that is being presented in front of him. He has to give Grimes minutes. He's already doing that. I think he put him up there ahead of Quigley. That used to be Quigley's spot in the fourth quarter, those extra minutes. And I think that he's doing a great job of realizing that, hey, I got to make this thing a competition for Quigley. Otherwise, he think he owns this spots, and he doesn't own anything. Okay, and Grimes, I think Santana said it, is more of a pure shooter. Okay, he's a pure shooter. Now, back to Noel. He didn't do nothing over the summer. He came back with the same 105 pounds that he left in June. While Mitchell Robinson, that boy beefed up, man. He is beefed up. I think Dream was talking about who was that kid from Orlando.
Dwight Howard.
He looks like he got a Dwight Howard type of body, man.
Yeah, he does.
That guy, he put on some weight. He went to the gym, okay, and now he's got competition. He's got that boy Jericho Sims, salivating to take his spot. It's a shame they're going to give him a 2-way contract and send him to the G League because they need him right there. Because I don't agree with Taj Gibson starting any game. I don't agree with that. That's too many 40-year-olds on the starting unit. You got Kemba Walker and Taj Gibson. Come on, man. Come on now. Give me a break with that. They're playing 20-year-olds.
No,
Go ahead.
You need him against the better teams though. With real starting centers, he's not ready for that yet. You don't want to throw him out against
Yeah, but that's what you got Mitchell and Noel for that.
And those guys.
Mitchell and Noel have to start because of their height.
Yeah. As long as they're healthy. He's just doing that because
Gibson is good with the second unit. He's another Papa Bear for the second unit, man. They need his experience.
In a perfect world, Gibson comes off that third unit.
Right. Yeah, that too. Listen, I'm looking at the depth chart. They got 5 different units. Okay?
Yeah.
I'll read them to you quickly. Walker, Fournier, Barrett, Randall, Mitchell Robinson. That's your starting 5. Second unit, Rose, Burks, Toppin, and Noel. They can leave in. They can bring in Grimes if they want to. But in the third, they have Quickly, Rose, Toppin, Knox, and Taj Gibson. They haven't even brought in Grimes yet. Okay? In the fourth, R.J. Barrett, Quentin Grimes, Evan Fournier, Taj Gibson, and Julius Randle. I mean, they got 5. In the fifth combination, they got Burks, Barrett, Knox, Luka, Samanik. Is he going to be playing or is he going to be in G League? And Jericho Sims.
They're going to try him. No, he's an actual NBA player. He's not a G League player.
I don't trust that fifth lineup, but all the other ones, man, they and Knox is another guy that's going to have a breakout year, or he's going to break out of here. Take it away, Santana.
Well, speaking of forwards, right? So I got to go to my man Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay, the man is been unlocked. All he needed was that summer league. They gave him the opportunity. They gave him the opportunity to go to the summer league and just play. And now you're seeing that transition or transfer in or translate into the NBA game. Now he's just going with the flow. He's not worried. He's not tight. He's loose and limber, and he's coming to dunk it on you, to get the rebound, to set the pick, roll to the basket. You're seeing the full repertoire and letting that 3 go. It's still not 100% there, but nonetheless, he's showing he has the potential. And of course, in the summer league, his average is up there because he got the touches. He was featured. Him and Quickly were featured in the summer league, and he came out and he did his thing. And now Tibbs has a little bit more confidence in him. Plus, he's playing a little bit better defense. So he's further along. He's at that next guy up when Randall is sitting. So he's already second in the depth chart. He surpassed Knox because that was really Knox's, role. But now Obi has earned those minutes. So that's a good thing. That's a great thing. I think with that, yes, he can come with that second unit with Rose and even be even more explosive. But the fact that he's coming in with the first unit, if Julius gets in foul trouble or Julius is not playing in a given game, he's next guy up to start in place of Julius. That says a lot based on his work and his development, which is something that you know, we didn't get really a good opportunity to see last year because he had very limited minutes. His minute were, so long you don't mess up. The minute he made a mistake, he was being yanked. Okay, Captain Hook was pulling him. But this year he's getting a little bit more rope and he's showing that he's earned that. So, I'm really happy about that. Now, I'm going to transition into the preseason. Obviously, the Knicks went 4-0, and that's great. In my opinion, it's great to have, 4-0 record, but more important than the record is the tone, the culture that's being developed, and that is a winning culture. Now, you know, this is a little bit questionable in terms of Tibbs coaching in the preseason as he's coaching in the regular season because he's coaching to win. And when you're up 20, 30 points, that's an opportunity to get other guys in as opposed to making Randall play 30 minutes or another brother play 25 minutes when you don't really need to do that. But the trade off is he's built a culture of winning, and that's important. This team now has an identity. That identity is defense first, and second is winning. So that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. Yes, they're 4-0, but again, the regular season starts now. They're 0-0. The only value that I get out of the preseason, based on what they accomplish, is the culture that they set, the tone that they set. That's the expectation, and that's how we move forward. With that said, I'm dropping it to you. Do a nice little drop pass to you. Go ahead, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you,
Esquire.
sir. And I'll take it. I'll just do a lefty layup off the glass. Um, I agree with you wholeheartedly with everything that you just stated with regard to uh, the culture that has been established with us. It's like you said, defense first, winning second. Um, Another person that we've mentioned him, but we really haven't spoken much about him as we should. And he was one of our better players last year, was Burks. I'm so glad that we brought him back. Burks, because even in the preseason, you can see that he still has that little bounce, and he's gonna come through for us on many occasions. And lest we forget, he was closing games for us. He was our closer in a lot of games, and he came through. So with this additional help, like we have other shooters who shoot as good as he does with Kemba and Fournier. It's just a matter of those dudes, you know, developing along with everyone else and mixing and causing this chemistry to grow. And that's exactly what I see happening. Fournier, because I watching him in the preseason, my feeling was that he should look for his shot a little more. But then I can understand it from his purview, where he's just, let me just come in and fit in. Let me just take what I'm given and try to see how to play with all of the other guys. I know how to play with Kemba. Kemba knows where to find me at. However, the others don't. So let me let them know where to find me at, and at the same time, I can find out where I can find them at, because that's what it's going to take for us to get out of the first round, as H2O had so eloquently placed it. We are going, even though he doesn't want to say the P word, the agenda now is to exceed what we did last season, even if we don't get the fourth seed. Even if we don't get the fourth seed, our expectation should still be to get past that first round. And I think we're going to do this. Based on what I've seen in the playoffs, like we said, Kemba's hasn't played a whole lot. Not in the playoffs, in the preseason. Kemba hasn't played a whole lot. However, when he did play, I can see. I think he's going to more than likely be our team leader in points between him and Randall, because Randall still has the ability to get his, regardless of how things are moving around, and which is that's a plus for him. That's a skill it takes to do that. He's basically he comes out, okay, you guys, you get it rolling. Don't worry about me. I'll be all right. And look at what he did the last game. He scored almost 30 points. He had a boatload of rebounds and about 5 assists. So he hasn't had really a drop off from last season. So once Kemba, Fournier, get a little more into like I said, the chemistry building of the team, I think we're gonna be a-okay. Um uh and Burks, lest we forget again, we still have that option that worked for us so well last season in the event that we need it. Hopefully we won't, but if we do need it, he'll be right there for us. And Burks is a decent defender as well. He's not, he might not have been as good as Bullock, but he's right. I mean, Bullock is not that much better of a defender than him, in my opinion, anyway, because Bullock last season seemed to play defense better when his shot was falling. There were a few games where at the start of the game, Bullock was on fire, lighting it up, and therefore he was able to hold his man, under whatever the expectancy was for that person to score. However, when he came in and he's shooting and his shot was off, his defense just wasn't the same for whatever reason. And I think that keeping Burks, I'm so glad. I keep saying, I can't say it enough. I'm so glad that we kept Burks long because that has added to this depth that we have. We have an immense talent pool of depth on that team. And as H2O pointed out, we can roll out several lineups and get the job done. We can play big, we can play small, we can play fast, we can slow it down. And we have all of these options, or should I say, Mr. Tibbs has all of these options at his fingertips. And we just, hope that he utilizes it as well as he can. And, change a little bit, as H2O also pointed out. He's going to have to change his coaching ways a little bit. With that being said, we slide over off the backboard to my man Dream. Give us a highlight, Dream.
Appreciate you. So I'm gonna catch it out, cross dribble. I'm gonna throw it behind my back, over my head, and just catch it to myself and reverse it. Why not? So we might see that from Obi this year. So basically, I agree. I tend to think of Rose as our glue guy, but Burks is interesting, like right behind him, as far as one of those guys who can interchange at any guard position anyway, and not be affected offensively and defensively. If one's not working, the other one. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I agree with what you said, and I thought that was a strong point. As far as Tibbs, man, he cannot ask these guys what he's not willing to do himself. So as far as developing and changing just enough to keep up with the added weapons and all these new things at his disposal, like we all keep saying, he can't keep coaching the old style, right? He has to be able to adjust to all the things that he does have. Even if game by game, it's going to be throwing in guys. It's not going to hurt to let the team get off quickly. If Kemba gets off quickly, then bring in Rose. You might throw, Deuce McBride up in there for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. You know what I'm saying? If some of those guys get injured, like you said, Burks can slide over. Then you bring in Grimes off the bench, could slide into his spot, and he could play the point if you're talking about just the bench playing. You know what I'm saying? So those type of things, like, it's going to be fun to watch them all be deployed this year, and hopefully they do it in a proper fashion. And so I'm excited about all that. The preseason, the 4-0. I mean, it was good to see. We want to, like Santana said, we want to establish the right culture. We want to beat the teams we're supposed to beat. And when I look at Washington and Detroit of the world and Indiana, I'm like, we should be beating these teams. So it's good to see them come out, they changed the lineup a couple times throughout the preseason, so you get different results in the games. They're a little tighter. Some are, like the first game was kind of like a blowout, and we're like, oh wow, okay, this is what it's gonna be. Second game it ended up being a blowout or something close to it. So what's good to see is that the offense is added, but the defense is not taking that much of a hit either because we're actually holding teams so basically around the same. A little bit in the last game, we gave up a little bit more than the 105 we used to, whatever. But overall, I think the discrepancy, the point differential, was around 15 or 14 or 15 points. So that's pretty decent for us. Like usually we don't have that kind of result. We're around a 2 to 5 point differential at best. So being in the mid to the upper upper ranked teams and offense this year, I'm hoping that's where we land, and that should be exciting for an entire season of what we got coming up. So that being said, I know we're probably going to go into the season itself, but yes, 4-0. I will always say yes. We'll take the 4-0 better than anything else because they said we were supposed to win the summer league, and then we didn't. So then it was like, oh wow, I wonder how this is going to work out. But summer league is weird because the worst teams in summer league, they always have like the best young talent, so they always go and blow. But we did get out of summer league. What we wanted to see was the development and the the progress of quickly on one end, playing a little bit of the point guard and his shooting coming along, and being able to teardrop, and obviously top and letting loose completely on offense, scoring about 20-something, 24 a game or something. He's just going completely off and realized he cannot be really stopped. He's the one that's going to stop himself. It's not really going to come from the defensive end unless it's an elite defender. He has an array of moves, spin moves. He's athletic off the jump and all that stuff like that. And once in a while, man, dropping that bucket too from three. Why not? So that being said, I'll bounce past. I'll send it up top. I see my little man over here. He's coming to play D on me, so I'm going to let him have it.
Your boy coming to play some D on you. Well, anyway, yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything. I was just looking online, though, and I saw something about the Knicks signing Brandon Knight.
Yeah,
another
I didn't hear that one. Okay.
point guard. This is a couple of
Brandon Knight or
ago.
Brandon Good? Because there've been a couple of Brandons coming in and out the last
Brandon Knight.
Interesting.
I remember
Okay.
him.
He I think his last stop might have been in Brooklyn. And speaking of Brooklyn, maybe this is a nice time to segue into what is the expectations for us for this year. I mean, the East has gotten considerably stronger.
Yes, it has.
Okay, and when I look at some of the standings from last year, I see Philadelphia 1 and Nets 2, but I think Nets will be up there. The Bucks will be second. Philadelphia might be third until they get rid of
or fourth, because the Heat is gonna
the Heat is gonna get better. Atlanta's gonna stay good.
The Bulls got better,
and the Bulls got better, but I could still see where Orlando Magic, Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Cavs, the Toronto Raptors, the Indiana Pacers, the Charlotte Hornets, and the Wizards are going to be at the bottom. Whereas it'll probably be Brooklyn, Bucks, Miami, Sixers, Atlanta, New York, Boston, and then Washington, Indiana, Charlotte, Bulls,
Raptors,
and Raptors. So there are a lot of teams that have gotten better. They beefed up their rosters. Okay. I was looking at the Nets. I was surfing through, and I ran into that net game. Man, they brought a lot of guys in there.
Yes, they did.
They got Santana's boy. What's his name?
Patty Mills.
Patty Mills. They brought back the big guy from San Antonio.
Aldridge.
Who else they got?
Blake Griffin still again?
No, the other power forward they brought in. I think he might have been with Memphis or something.
Millsap.
Oh, he was with
Utah. They got a goon squad there, bro. They
do.
So they don't need Kyrie to be the first seed in the East. So yeah, man, they look like they are ready, and that is we haven't even mentioned their starting five. You know, so they look like they're going to be a very possible contender for the East. So I don't think Philadelphia can repeat what they did last year. I don't think they have the horses. So where do I see the Knicks now? If you're talking about the Brooklyn Bucks, Miami, Philadelphia, and I say Boston, Atlanta, and the Knicks are going to be the 5th, 6th, and 7th.
I don't put Boston up there with it. I think we passed Boston.
They brought in
wrong, but
they brought in that other kid though, the Dominican. Harford.
Al Horford.
Yeah, they brought him back.
Yeah.
And you know he's a Knick killer.
Yeah.
He can drop buckets against us for some reason. And he gets good games.
Yeah.
You know, those shots that you say, damn, like they are momentum killers.
But
anyway,
he has to guard the Randalls, and he has to keep Mitch and Noel and Sims hopefully out of the paint. So he has his work cut out for him.
I agree.
He's
what they don't have is depth.
Right.
Yes.
Not the same depth. Right.
No. So Miami, they brought in a couple of guys. They'll look good.
Miami's going to be a problem.
Miami's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Atlanta, they got their whole crew back.
They're going to be a problem again.
And so
I guess 4 or 5 again.
That's us.
4 or 5.
Well, if Miami is ahead of us, we 5 and 6.
I'll take 5. I think Miami makes the jump ahead of us into that Atlanta spot. I think the Bulls make a big jump, but they were so far down last year that even adding 10 games to their win column drops them right below us at 6. Okay. And so then you have Atlanta and Boston 7, 8 like that. But I think Miami makes the biggest jump with their additions because they're good veteran quality playoff savvy veterans that they added to that team plus their young stars. So I think they'll get a better jump to the season than they did last year. I think that's what hurt them. They came roaring back at the end of the season, if you remember, and they were a problem for us last year. But so I think that's one of the teams we're going to have to solve this year if we want to get out of the first round. Because in my predictions, I have us 4 or 5 against Miami in the first round. So, and so we'll see where that goes. But
okay, yes. So you think Atlanta falls to 6?
Atlanta falls to Atlanta falls to 7 because I think Chicago takes the 6th spot.
Oh,
and it's going to be like last year. And it's going to be just like last year was, a game apart. I'm not saying we're like 5 games ahead of Chicago. I'm saying if we end up with what's the projected outcome for the win, 49 and 33 this year. They're projecting out there. If we end up with 49, Chicago ends up with 46, 47 wins. They're right behind us, that kind of a thing, Okay. Miami ends up with 50, 51 wins, like right there. It's all real tight again, But,
I only want to add one thing about this whole thing is that you mentioned something about those extra players that we brought in and how many points they can add to the offense. And right now we're averaging 116 points a game.
Yeah.
In those 4 games. 116 points a game. That's up from 105 last year, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's 11
points. That's 11 points.
That'll
Fournier hasn't even gotten off. And Burks hasn't gotten off.
Right.
So if we can average
120, I can see it.
Well, if we can average 116, man, we're up there.
Well, they scored 30 points a quarter so easily now, it seems.
Yeah, 30 a quarter.
They're just running right through that. When they don't, it's almost surprising. It's like, what do you mean they had a 20-point quarter? Where'd that come from? Because when the offense is flowing, they just get buckets and it seems easy. A little slow sometimes, but easy. Mid-range game, boom, boom. The threes start dropping all of a sudden. Next thing you know, like, wow, we got 3 minutes to go in this quarter and we have 27 points already. Like, okay, let's sit back and watch the rest, So that's the exciting part, I think.
All they need to do is keep that same defensive intensity that we had last year, holding teams down to 105, 106 points a game.
Yeah.
And man,
Yeah.
they could win a lot.
That's going
They
to be
could
tough.
win.
I'm not going to lie. That's going to be tough because, Kemba is a
Okay.
little bit smaller, so he might get pushed around a little bit from the bigger guards. If Alonzo Ball comes in there, he's not, that's a bigger guard compared to Kemba, So
And quicker.
how we approach that on the defensive end is going to matter, how other teams get off against us, that's what I'm saying,
Right.
But, that's what we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that works out,
Well,
But
that's where that's where coaching comes in. You can't
Yeah,
leave him out there getting eaten up for 3 quarters
No.
or even for a whole quarter. He got
No,
to come in there with a defensive player and sacrifice the offense, the running up the team. And I don't know that Deuce McBride is not a good point guard. Remember, he's a point guard, right?
Yeah,
No, he's a good point guard.
he is.
He's just unproven at this level. He's just unproven at this level. We can see what he can move on defense and stuff, but running a team is a whole different thing, So
Well, they should be working him into that
pick your
spot
spots to
because
get him going.
he's a better defender than Quigley. And if he
Much-
can do what
much better.
Quigley does, which is bring the ball up and pass it into that, handoff, 3-man handoff weave, anybody can do that.
Yes.
I can go in there and do that.
Yeah.
All I want to do is bring it across and hand it off. And he's a big boy enough that
But
you're not going to take the ball from him in the backcourt.
And he has
that's
a
why he
motor.
needs-
He's a dog.
He needs to learn.
So I hope he does
He
learn.
needs to absorb all he can.
Yes, because we're going to need him. We're
Yeah,
going to need him. We're going to need a point guard. We need a point guard because
You need a
Rose is in
defensive
there.
guard.
Right. We need that guy to take a couple of minutes.
Defensive guard.
Right. So that Rose doesn't have to
We have a
play
lot of
28.
offensive players. We got a lot of offensive players, but the defense,
Right.
we need to be able to stop people at the top of the key too. There's a lot of fast guards, man. Like
Yes.
Steph Curry,
that's what-
Dame Lillard.
That's right.
It's like
That's
you
right.
start thinking about those kind of guys coming down. They're fast. They get in the
Kemba
lane.
Walker ain't stopping them.
They're not stopping them. That's what I'm saying. We need to be realistic with it too. So that's why Tom, like we keep saying, he needs to throw those guys in. Let them get
Yes.
physical just for 30 seconds with them, a minute, like something. I don't know, and pull them back out, put the offensive guy right back in there. So it's twofold. It helps wear them down a little bit and keep our guys' legs fresh on the defensive end.
Right.
For the offense. So
Save them for the fourth quarter so they can get fresh legs in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
And
you know
guy that needs
what?
to step on his defense more than anybody is Barrett, because he's still getting beat backdoor, left and right.
Backdoor.
From the game I saw, I went to that game. He was getting torched.
Really?
It wasn't
Who?
even close. It wasn't
Barrett?
even
Who,
close. Barrett,
Indiana?
he needs to. Yeah, man.
In the Indiana
All
game?
those guys he was hurting. Yeah, man. It was like annoying after a while. I was like, come on, why? Like he looks bigger. He looks solid. He looked good on the offensive end. Defensive end, he's flat-footed. And he's getting burned on the first step every time, backdoor, boom. Or he's making a decision to try to double out of nowhere, and this guy's taking off on him. So he needs to clean that up a little bit. Like he's a developing player too. He's still young, but if he's going to be that guy, then he needs to do it on both ends of the floor. And it's good to see that they added the shooting, because that should free him up to drive to the basket all day long too. He should not have any problems, because these guys are going to be guarded on the 3-point line, and he's going to have a whole inside to work with. Instead of going 1-on-2 and 3, it's going to be 1-on-1, maybe 1-on-2. But by that time he gets a second guy, he should already be doing his move to the basket.
He could
So
go left.
I'm excited.
All long. Go
All
left.
day.
Go left.
All
Go
day.
left.
So
And if they come at him, kick the ball out to Grimes in the corner or Burks in the
Anybody.
corner.
Fournier, Kemba, it's all these guys. They can shoot from anywhere. That's the thing too.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it'd be interesting.
It already feels like it's going to be interesting. Well, anyway, our first game is Wednesday night, and we are going to be going against, or rather, Fournier and Kemba
Going against
are going to be going against their former team.
Yep.
So there should be an
By the
incentive,
way, let's get it.
an incentive for them to play, their best game for us so far.
Where's that game at? Is it at the crib or is it in Boston?
It's at the crib, man. That's
It's at the
opening
crib.
night. Opening
Home
night,
opener.
papi.
That's what I'm saying. They'll get going.
Yeah.
fun.
Yes. So listen,
we're
you
probably gonna
better
do a show on that night. So
get your boy vaccinated. because otherwise, he gonna be, being the voice of the voiceless.
Hilarious.
The voice of the voiceless that nobody want to hear.
That's it. We'll figure it out.
My client,
Yo, he getting
Either
30
that or
million, man.
they're gonna have to trade him down south somewhere. You know?
Yeah, he could play in
He can
Florida.
go play in Houston.
listen, that as long if they
Or
trade him,
another place.
which is what I'm probably sure that's going to happen. Put him out on the West. I don't want to see him for a minimum of 4 games a season. Seeing him twice a year is
Oh
fine.
no! Don't get it twisted, bro. He can't play in New York.
Right. So I'm
So wherever
saying,
he goes, he can't play in New York.
oh, that's true.
You can't play at the Garden.
Yes, you can.
You might see him twice. We go there.
Other teams who have players that are vaccinated can play there. That's what the
can play here. Yeah.
is. They can play here.
Yeah.
So if he's on San Antonio or what have you, he can when they come that one time to the Garden,
yeah,
he can play.
Okay.
So
it's a weird stipulation.
That's weird because why should our players be mandated?
Thank you.
And not the players that are. I think the NBA should just make it official, man.
It's a weird thing. It's a whole other time frame, to talk about.
Yeah, shit. Anyway, so
I gotta get out of here, fellas.
All right.
Sorry.
Go ahead, man. Daddy daycare.
And I know. And we'll catch up for the next game. I'm excited for the first game actually. And
yes.
Take down Boston, and we'll make our predictions at that time. But it was great seeing you guys, and I appreciate you doing this and taking time for this.
I'm not sure we're gonna have another game, another podcast until after the Boston game. I'm not sure how that's gonna work.
I think we're gonna do one the day of.
The day of. Okay, that's a great thing.
Before the game.
Okay.
If we don't, I'm taking a W. I don't have a score yet though.
Okay.
I got to score W.
I got us for W as well.
You heard it first.
I think all of us do, even you, H2O.
I got a W for this weekend.
Definitely.
I got a W. I got a 2-0 because I think we play Orlando on Friday.
Okay.
And then I think we come back for the Wizards, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So we're gonna have a nice week. I think
we should have a pretty nice start.
Yeah. Oh, let me see if I get that right.
Listen, anything is better than watching my Giants, man. I can't.
Oh no, man! You don't even want to talk about them in this this time. I think that maybe they need to get rid of.
Thank you.
That quarterback.
I was going to say get rid of the coaching.
Well, I think the quarterback is the main position on the field. The coaching definitely it's influential in developing this young guy. But this kid has been around now for 3 years,
and
he has not shown any level of improvement.
No, he hasn't.
I know he's had different coaches, but his own skills level has not gotten any better. He can't find the receivers with his own color uniform on. I think he's colorblind. What's his problem? You know what I'm saying? And he turns the ball over.
He does turn the ball over. He's clumsy with the ball. He'll from the snap, he'll drop back 2 steps and just fumble. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It seems like, and I've said this before, it seems like he has all of, and he's gone to the Manning camps, but he has Eli's bad qualities.
Yeah, the deer in the headlights.
Bad qualities of Eli is what he's.
That's what he's learning. At least Eli took us somewhere. Anyway, we'll catch up at the next time.
Yep.
And have a blessed night, man.
Do the same.
All right.
You gotta sign us out. How you normally do?
As we say at the end of each and every episode, once a Knick, Always a Knick. Go New York, go New York, go.
See you on Wednesday, bro.
All right.